Overthinking is a storm within the mind, a ceaseless swirl of thoughts, doubts, and questions. It's like trying to walk through a forest at night, each step entangled by the roots of uncertainty. The overthinker doesn't just experience life, they dissect it, turning moments of joy into puzzles, opportunities into dilemmas, and peace into restlessness. But why? Why does the overthinker suffer so deeply? You see, overthinking is born from a place of care. These minds aren't idle, they're trying to protect, to prepare, to prevent harm. They're searching for clarity, for control in a world that often offers none. Yet, in this relentless pursuit, they forget a simple truth: life isn't always meant to be solved, it's meant to be lived. An overthinker battles an enemy that exists only within the what-ifs that never come, the fears that may never materialize. Their suffering stems not from the world itself, but from their own imagination, their unwillingness to release the reins and trust the flow of life. But there's beauty in that struggle. For in those overthinking hearts lies a depth, a richness that others may never understand. They see the world in ways others cannot, feel emotions with unparalleled intensity. And while this brings pain, it also holds potential, the potential to grow, to create, to connect on levels most cannot fathom. The key for the overthinker is to recognize that their thoughts are not the enemy. They are tools to use, not to be used by. It's not about silencing the mind, it's about guiding it. It's about knowing when to step back, to breathe, and to let life simply unfold. Overthinking may feel like a curse, but it can also be a gift if you learn how to wield it. Remember, even the mightiest rivers need boundaries to flow freely. And so it is with the mind. It thrives when it learns to flow with purpose, not with chaos. So to all the overthinkers out there, hear this: you are not broken. You are not weak. You are simply learning how to tame the brilliance of your mind. And when you do, you will find peace not in the absence of thought, but in the harmony of it. The mind of an overthinker is a vast, uncharted wilderness teeming with possibilities, questions, and doubts. It's as though every thought is a storm cloud, each carrying the weight of uncertainty, rumbling with what-ifs and maybes. These storms don't come and go. They linger, casting shadows over what could have been clear skies. To overthink is to walk through this wilderness without a map, pausing at every fork in the path, scrutinizing every branch, every stone, wondering, is this the right way? But life doesn't wait. The sun keeps setting, the forest grows darker, and the weight of indecision becomes unbearable. Yet, in the eye of that storm, there is purpose. The overthinker isn't aimless, they are searching, seeking answers, clarity, control. They are not lost because they are careless, they are lost because they care too much. They want every decision to be perfect, every step to be certain. But life, as beautiful as it is, doesn't offer such guarantees. And so they suffer not because they are weak, but because they wrestle with their own need to understand everything before taking a single step. They fear what lies ahead, yet cannot stop analyzing the path behind. The storm isn't just in their head, it's in their heart. And it pulls them in every direction. But perhaps the lesson isn't to end the storm, it's to find peace within it. To realize that no matter how loud the thunder or how blinding the rain, they can still move forward. One step at a time, one breath at a time. And to trust that the wilderness, with all its challenges, holds beauty too. And in time the storm will pass, revealing a path they couldn't see before. This is the journey of an overthinker, not to fight the storm, but to learn to walk through it. Overthinking is not a flaw. It is not a weakness. It comes from a place of care so deep that it overflows into every corner of the mind. Those who overthink are not idle dreamers, they are guardians, protectors, and planners. Their thoughts stem from a profound desire to shield themselves and those they love from pain, to anticipate every possible outcome, and to ensure that nothing is left to chance. When someone overthinks, they are not sitting still. Their mind is running, tirelessly working to prepare for a future they cannot control. It is a labor of love, though it often feels like a heavy burden. They analyze because they want to understand. They worry because they want to prevent harm. They care so much that they carry the weight of 1,000 scenarios, hoping that by thinking through them all, they can steer toward the best one. But here's the truth: overthinking comes from a place of love, yet it can rob you of the very peace you seek to preserve. It is the mind's way of trying to protect itself from uncertainty, yet in doing so, it becomes trapped in an endless loop of doubt. The irony is that the more you care, the harder it becomes to let go. This is the struggle of the overthinker, to balance the desire to care deeply with the need to release control. To trust that not everything needs to be anticipated, that not every problem needs a solution in the moment. Because life, in all its unpredictability, will unfold as it will. And so, the overthinker must learn that care is a gift, not a cage. That their compassion, their love, their desire to make the right choices is what makes them human. They must embrace the beauty of their caring heart, while also knowing when to simply let life be. Life is not a riddle waiting to be solved. It is a song meant to be heard, a dance meant to be lived. But the overthinker forgets this truth, caught in the belief that every moment, every decision, must have an answer. They approach life as if it's a puzzle with only one correct solution, poring over every piece, convinced they must fit it all together perfectly before time runs out. But the reality is far gentler, far more forgiving. Life is not a test. It is a flow, a rhythm that doesn't demand perfection but instead asks for presence. The overthinker's greatest struggle is in their refusal to let go, to allow themselves to be carried by life's current rather than fighting against it. They seek certainty in a world that offers none, and in doing so, they lose sight of the joy found in simply being. Each day, life unfolds in ways we cannot predict, with moments of grace, beauty, and even hardship interwoven in ways no plan could ever capture. The overthinker tries to capture it all, to hold it in their hands and make sense of it, not realizing that the tighter they grip, the more life slips through their fingers. The secret is this: not everything requires understanding. Not every moment demands an explanation. Sometimes the most profound wisdom comes from surrender, from letting life move through you without resistance. When you stop trying to solve life and start living it, you discover a freedom that no amount of analysis could ever give. To the overthinker, this may feel like stepping into the unknown, and that is frightening. But it is also liberating. For in that surrender lies the truth they've been seeking all along. Life's meaning isn't in solving its mysteries, but in embracing them with an open heart. The battle of the overthinker is not with the world around them, it's with the world within. Their greatest enemy is their own imagination, a relentless architect of fears and uncertainties. It conjures what-ifs, like shadows in the dark, giving shape to fears that may never materialize and doubts that have no foundation. The mind becomes its own battlefield, a place where endless wars are fought over things that may never come to pass. This is the tragedy of overthinking. The enemy is not real. It doesn't live in the actions of others or the unpredictability of life. It lives in the stories the mind creates. Stories of failure before the journey begins, of rejection before the question is asked, of catastrophe before the first step is taken. The overthinker's mind is a master storyteller, weaving tales of what could go wrong so vividly that they feel real. Yet none of it exists, not in the moment, not in the here and now. The overthinker suffers not from reality, but from the fear of what reality might be. And so they hold themselves back, hesitating, questioning, doubting, while life quietly moves forward without them. The challenge is learning to recognize these stories for what they are: creations of the mind, not reflections of the world. It is understanding that the thoughts in their head are not truths, but possibilities that may never come to be. And to escape this inner battle, the overthinker must find a way to anchor themselves in the present. To trust that the moment unfolding before them is all that truly exists. When they do, they'll realize the shadows in their mind were just that, shadows, not substance. The enemy within loses its power the moment you see it for what it is: a reflection of fear, not reality. There is a certain beauty in the depth of an overthinker's mind. They are not shallow swimmers in the waters of life. They are deep divers, exploring thoughts, emotions, and possibilities that others barely glance at. This depth can be a blessing and a curse, for it allows them to see the world with extraordinary clarity while feeling its weight with overwhelming intensity. Where others see a single moment, the overthinker sees layers of memory, a meaning, a possibility, a consequence. They live in a world that is richer, more intricate, but also more demanding. Their ability to feel deeply, to connect with the subtleties of life, is what sets them apart. Yet it's this very sensitivity that can cause them pain. They experience life's joys more profoundly, but they also bear its sorrows more heavily. An overthinker notices the things others miss: the pause in someone's voice, the flicker of doubt in their eyes, the unspoken emotions hanging in the air. They are attuned to the world in ways that make them compassionate, insightful, and empathetic. But this heightened awareness also makes them vulnerable. They see not only what is, but what could be, and that dual vision of reality and potential can feel like a burden. However, it's important to understand that this depth is not a flaw, it is a gift. It is the source of their creativity, their wisdom, and their ability to connect with others on a profound level. The key is not to reject this depth, but to embrace it. To learn how to navigate its challenges while celebrating its beauty. The overthinker must remind themselves that feeling deeply is not a weakness, it is a strength. It is what makes them human in the truest sense. Their depth may bring them pain, but it also brings them insight, growth, and a capacity for love that is unmatched. And in that, there is immense power. The mind is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it can either build or destroy depending on how it's used. The overthinker often forgets this. They let their mind take control, letting it wander through endless corridors of doubt and overanalysis. They become servants to their thoughts rather than masters of them. The tool begins to wield the user, and in that imbalance, suffering takes root. Thoughts, at their core, are neutral. They are neither good nor bad. It is how we engage with them that gives them power. The overthinker, however, doesn't just acknowledge a thought, they grab hold of it, examine it from every angle, and then build stories around it. One thought leads to another, and soon they are tangled in a web of their own making, unsure how to escape. But the truth is, they don't need to silence their thoughts or fight them. They need only to guide them. The mind, when disciplined, is a tool of infinite potential. It can solve problems, create beauty, and bring clarity. But when left unchecked, it becomes a maze, trapping the overthinker in endless loops of indecision and worry. The journey to peace begins with recognizing this dynamic, that the mind is not the enemy, but a tool. And like any tool, it requires skill to use properly. This means learning to step back from thoughts, to observe them without being consumed by them. It means choosing which thoughts to engage with and which to let pass, like clouds drifting across the sky. When the overthinker learns to guide their mind rather than being led by it, they reclaim their power. They move from chaos to clarity, from being controlled to being in control. And in that shift, they discover that their greatest struggles were never with their thoughts, but with their relationship to them. The mind is a river, ever flowing, always moving, never static. But just as a river can flood and drown when it is not contained, so too can the mind become overwhelmed when it is not guided with purpose. For the overthinker, this flow of thoughts, unchecked and uncontrolled, becomes a torrent, sweeping them away into a sea of confusion. They become lost in the current, tossed from one worry to the next, unable to find steady ground. But the beauty of a river lies not in its endless rushing, but in its ability to be channeled. When the river is guided, when its flow is directed toward a purpose, it becomes a source of life, nourishing the land, carving paths through the earth, creating something new. And so it is with the mind. It does not need to be silenced or forced into stillness. It needs only to be given a direction, a focus, a purpose. This is the key to finding peace. The overthinker must learn that their thoughts, as wild as they may seem, can be harnessed. They need not fight the flow, but they must choose where to direct it. By focusing on what truly matters, by setting boundaries within their own minds, they create a space where clarity can emerge from the chaos. It's not about controlling every thought, but about choosing which thoughts to engage with and which to let pass by. The mind, like the river, thrives when it knows its course. It flows most powerfully when it has purpose, when it is not aimlessly rushing through an endless expanse. The overthinker must learn to set those boundaries, to create that channel so that their thoughts flow with intention, not aimlessly, not chaotically, but with purpose. When the overthinker learns this, they discover that their mind can be a source of strength, not a place of turmoil. They realize that peace does not come from stopping the flow of thoughts, but from guiding them with a steady hand, from finding a path within the storm. And in that guidance, they will find the tranquility they've been searching for. The overthinker often feels trapped, as though they're caught in a never-ending cycle, unable to escape the weight of their thoughts. But what they fail to see is that their greatest struggle is not the world around them, but the way they perceive it. They look at their mind as a curse, something to be feared or silenced, but in truth, it is a gift that, understood and embraced, can unlock doors to a world of possibilities. What the overthinker doesn't realize is that every thought they have is not a burden to bear, but a tool to be used. Their mind is a treasure chest of insight, creativity, and potential. It is capable of seeing patterns, connecting dots, and envisioning paths that others might miss. Yet, in their struggle to control every thought, they forget that true power lies not in mastery over the mind, but in the ability to release it when necessary, to trust it, and let it work for them, not against them. The overthinker believes that their suffering comes from their ability to think too much, but the truth is, their suffering arises from their inability to release control. The mind is a powerful tool, but it is not meant to be wielded with a tight fist. It is meant to be guided gently, allowed to flow and evolve without the constant need for analysis or restraint. When the overthinker learns this, they discover that the very thing they thought was their enemy is actually their ally. Their mind, when not shackled by doubt, can accomplish extraordinary things. It can create, solve, and innovate in ways that others cannot. But only when they stop trying to force it, stop trying to tame it, and instead learn to trust in its natural rhythm. To truly harness the power of the mind, the overthinker must recognize that not every thought is a problem to be solved. Not every worry is a reality waiting to happen. The mind's greatest gift is its ability to imagine, to dream, to envision a future that may never come, but that's also where the pain lies. For in imagining, they often lose sight of the present. True peace, then, comes not from silencing the mind, but from trusting it. From knowing that their thoughts are simply reflections of the mind's vast capacity, and not every reflection needs to be examined in detail. The overthinker must learn to let some thoughts pass, to let them drift by like leaves on a river, and to focus on the ones that matter. The overthinker is not broken. They are not cursed. They simply need to understand that their mind is not the problem. It is the way they engage with it that creates the suffering. The key to peace lies in letting go, in allowing the mind to flow freely, and in trusting that, in time, the right thoughts will rise to the surface, clear and true. In this way, the overthinker learns that their greatest strength lies in their ability to embrace their mind, not control it. They are not prisoners of their thoughts, but masters of their destiny, guided by the brilliance of a mind that once set free, has the power to change everything.